What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, back with another daily upload. I'm trying to upload every day, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Dana White's Contender Series, week number 2, but in a different way as normally I would. I normally give my predictions, this and that, but the fight card is already finished, and a lot of these guys are still yet to make their UFC debut, so I'm going to be matchmaking these with not necessarily who I think they should match them with, but who I think that the UFC are going to match them with, if that makes any sense. Two of these fighters already have got a UFC debut ready, but 6 fighters were signed from this card. Shannon Ross, although he did lose, he did still get a contract anyway, so we've still got 4 people to talk about in this video. So Waldo Cortez Acosta is going to be making his debut against I believe it is Jared Vanderaa in a few months time, only a couple of months away, and Francis Marshall is making his debut in a few months time as well at the end of the year against Marcelo Rojo. So yeah, tough fights ahead for both guys. I think that Waldo Cortez Acosta wins his one. I think that Francis Marshall has a tough test ahead of him. Should be a competitive bout nonetheless, but let's just talk about who do I think that they should match up these guys with. And I've got an opponent ready for Billy Goff, but I don't have any opponents ready for all of the other fighters. So let's look into it. Billy Goff, he fought at welterweight. He has fought at middleweight in the past, so maybe he steps in on super short notice for a middleweight fight. Potentially that could be something that happens, but for the most part, I think you're going to see Billy Goff debut at welterweight. That is his more natural weight. And if you look at the UFC welterweight rankings, and you do go to the bottom, not that I think that these guys are bottom tier level fighters, it's just that when you debut in the UFC, for the most part, these are the guys that they make you debut against, you know. And you've got a few of these guys that have already got fights booked. I believe even Alder's got a fight booked coming up, and this and that. I don't think Martin Sano's ever going to fight again. The GOATs are fighting each other, Rodriguez and Jackson. So you want to look up the records a little bit. And first I thought AJ Fletcher, Dana White's Contender Series, a guy that has shown a lot of promise in his career, but just hasn't been able to quite get the victory. And I thought, you know what, maybe not. I think in the next fight they're going to give AJ Fletcher a very winnable matchup. So let's move on. Maybe Preston Parsons could be an option, this and that. And I found this man, and I was like, yep, that's perfect. Orion Kosuke. I think Orion Kosuke versus Billy Goff will be a very good matchup. I think that Billy Goff should be able to win that fight as well. It's not like Orion Kosuke's never won a fight in the UFC. He did recently defeat Blood Diamond by decision, but he didn't have a very successful fight against Philip Rowe. But I think that should be a banger fight. I think both guys would brawl it out in that one. I think Kosuke will be looking for takedowns. I think that Goff's got good wrestling himself. And it's not like Goff didn't get let off easy in his fight either. He took a bit of damage, so maybe Kosuke can see something in that fight which he can exploit. So I think that he would take the matchup too. I don't know why, I'm hiccuping right now. Very strange. But Goff versus Kosuke, I think that's a pretty good debut. Now, Vanishing Salvador, this guy's super young. I believe he's only 25, 26 years old. He just knocked out Shannon Ross. He's got so many finishes on his record. He's from Brazil. I think that they're going to make him debut in Brazil. So let's look at the UFC flyweight rankings and look towards the bottom, because he is so young. There's a lot of opportunity for him to build his record a lot. And the first man I saw that I think that someone like Vanishing Salvador could be able to knock out is JP Buys. JP Buys, I don't want it to happen, because Vanishing Salvador, I believe, he's got like 14 KO wins or 12 KO wins or something like that in his 14 wins. JP Buys, I think that Salvador would knock out JP Buys, and maybe JP Buys would even take that matchup as well, because it might be in Brazil. I think that they're going to have him debut in Brazil. I don't think Daniel Lacerda, I forgot his last name, I think it used to be Daniel Santos. I don't think he's in the UFC anymore. JP Buys, I think they're keeping him around, but I don't think that they're going to give him a debuting guy like like Salvador. Sorry, I think maybe JP Buys fights Shannon Ross. Potentially, I'll start talking about him soon. But if they like Santos, which I think that Salvador, sorry, which I think that they do, they'll give him a very winnable matchup in this one here. And I think that I'm almost looking at Ode Osborne potentially as a matchup. If you look up a bit, you're almost getting to the top 15, so you can't do that. The flyweight division is very shallow, so there's not much to pick from. But if they hate JP Buys, like if they really hate JP Buys, they have Salvador debut against JP Buys. If they don't hate JP Buys, they don't do that. But Charles Johnson's already got a matchup booked, so we can't put him up against Charles Johnson. That would be a good fight. Maybe Carlos Hernandez could be a good one, but I think he's got a fight booked, does he? I think he does. And yeah, I think maybe Ode Osborne, Carlos Hernandez, JP Bays, maybe Dennis Bondar as well could be an option as well, but I think because it's in Brazil, they might actually just look at JP Bays, or maybe even they sign someone and then have him fight there. Yeah, anyway, let's move on to Shannon Ross. Let's talk about Shannon Ross, and I'm going to be brutal with this matchup here. I am from New Zealand, and I like Shannon Ross, but at the end of the day, Shannon Ross is a 33-year-old flyweight, and he's 1-2 in his last 3. I don't think that the UFC are going to try and build Shannon Ross as a 33-year-old prospect at flyweight, because that's pretty old for flyweight. They're going to put Shannon Ross in there with a prospect, and that's when I think of the name Ode Osborne. I think they're trying to keep Ode Osborne around. Ode Osborne versus Tyson Nam was probably meant to be Osborne's coming out party, and Tyson Nam, as he always does, completely spoiled that. I think that they're probably going to do Shannon Ross versus Ode Osborne. Osborne just got KO'd, and you could say, oh, well, he just got KO'd. Why would he fight someone so soon? Well, Shannon Ross has to take a lot of time off as well. He got KO'd recently, took a lot of damage in that matchup too, and he also had some sort of infection or something wrong with him in that fight as well, so he has to take a lot of time off. So I think the timeline probably works for that fight. I think that Shannon Ross probably fights Ode Osborne in his debut. They're going to try and use Shannon Ross's name to build up other guys. I don't think that they're going to try and use other guys to build up Shannon Ross, just because he's an older guy at flyweight. But we could see Shannon Ross versus JP Bays. If Daniel Lacerda is still in the UFC, we could see him versus Daniel Lacerda. I don't know why Bruno Silva is not out. I don't think he's been inactive for 15 months, right? Has he? I feel like he's been more active than that. But yeah, I feel like Shannon Ross, he's a 33-year-old flyweight. I think he's got to play his cards right if he wants to go on a big run. And I think what they're probably going to do is Shannon Ross versus I forgot his name already, Ode Osborne or JP Bays. Let's move on to the final one. Chris Duncan. Alright, so Chris Duncan's got to be careful. He's got to be careful, man. Vyacheslav Borshev knocked this guy out badly. Charlie Campbell beat this guy up a lot on the feet, really hurt him quite a bit, so he's going to have to take a bit of time off, but he's also got to be careful that he doesn't fight someone that's going to knock him out in his debut, and that's a tough one in the lightweight rankings, because you got a lot of guys that could knock you out. I don't think Ontiveros is still in the UFC. Maybe Mike Breeden would be a good matchup to build him up, but I don't know if Mike Breeden's still in the UFC even. But I was looking through the matchups here, and what I like is maybe a fight against Gabriel Benitez. Gabriel Benitez is 145-pounder, moving up. He's got a very experienced record, and that's kind of what they like to do. But there's a but here. If they hate him, if they hate Charlie Campbell or Chris Duncan, which they might, they'll give him Maheshate Hayasa. They just will, because Maheshate would knock him out. So we'll see how they do that, but I think if Chris Duncan plays his cards right, he really could get a few good wins in the UFC. I think he should start off by fighting Mike Breeden, or even any of these two if they're still in the UFC. Maybe Eric Gonzalez would put up a pretty competitive fight with him. But I don't think you can jump him above Borshev, because Borshev beat him. So, I think Benitez could be an option there. Yeah, I think Benitez is probably a pretty logical debut. Benitez has been KO'd a few times in his career as well at 145, so I think that makes sense. So I think we're probably going to see that happen. So yeah, that's my my predictions, I guess, for who UFC is going to match who up with in week number 2. Let me know if you heavily disagree or agree with me. I know I'm not a UFC matchmaker. These aren't my matchings. They kind of are, but they're kind of not. They're more what I think the UFC is going to do with these guys since they've signed them. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do. I think there's some banger fights to be had, though. And I think there's some good careers to be made. But you got to think about it like this. Shannon Ross lost in Dana White's Contender Series. I don't think as a 33-year-old flyweight they're going to try and build his name. I just don't. But you got younger guys like Salvador, who's like 25 years old. Billy Goff, who's like 24, 25 years old. They're going to build them up. You know, these older guys, they're not going to care about as much. So, that's my honest opinion, really. And it's not even my opinion. It's just what the UFC does. You know, the UFC signs a lot of guys to build up a lot of other guys, and I think that's probably what they're going to do. So, yeah, that's my predictions for who they're going to match who up with. Let me know what you think in the comments below.